with the new comp. You heard it from Sideshow. Something that Munchkin's done well at in the past is dealing with comps like this. How do you feel this is going to set Heretics up for the final map of the series?
I don't mind it. It feels like they've combined some of the old ideas with a few new ones. They've run stuff with Yoru in the past, and I think it's an agent that Miniboo enjoys and is comfortable on. I also think switching back to the Astra, Boo just looks good on Astra. I think over the brim, like, he's so good in those post plants and kicking it off on the attack. I think that's what they're going to be going for.
Well, it's all about setting the pace. Double traps waiting for them as they step out into the A site. Although already they're bypassing them. Moving around the back through lamps to try to fight right onto Munchkin. The flash, the first one wasn't so good, but the second was beautiful. Now Texture left on the off angle to try to catch them. Can't punish on the player caught by the trap, but does deny the spike plant. But the nade buys a little bit more time, but it's going to be tough to capitalize through that smoke.
It's now patience for Heretics. They don't need to overextend. They don't need to take too much of a risk. They've still got plenty of time to play with and are sort of hoping that there is more of an extension on the other side. I think they're also waiting for Boo to try and get into position. But in the meantime, look at the pop flash. It's going to be coming straight through their smoke already. A couple, but Rians responds immediately and even adds one more to the pile. And Karen, he just about manages to get the kill onto Miniboo, but there's still two remaining, and it's Rians once again. Another 4K to add to the collection, and Heretics with another pistol round.
Yeah, this time it's Geng on the receiving end of that 4K. 1-0 to start this off for Heretics. Picking up the pistol, grabbing themselves a decent buy follow-up on what should be a 2-0 lead. They managed to avoid a lot of the dangers there. We talked about the traps that were in play, and by the time that they actually took the fight, because they had gone around the back and dealt with Munchkin, there was nobody really to follow up on it. So at least able to grab themselves a plant, or at least they thought so. It was denied, but the pumping of the brakes very nearly didn't work. Thanks to Rians, they got it across the line. Now just classics for the most part. You only look to Texture with a Sheriff, and he's on the other side of the map to the majority of the Heretics squad, just grabbing the orb early.
Yeah, you can see though, it's again, you're going to have Benji on these lurks. Him with a Sheriff is always deadly, and just going to try and spot out the info. It seems like he's going to get contact. Through they go, and well, down they go. They may have been able to play 2v1, and he may have only had a pistol, but I honestly think it's his best weapon. This now leaves a gap. And for Heretics, it's not like they're down to 30 seconds. They don't need to use this as an execution point. They are just going to wait and allow those rotations to come in from Geng. With no information found by Lakia, I can fairly safely gamble that this is going to be A.
Benji Fishy with a Sheriff on a short bind. Always manages to...
That's where he got his first ace, right?
It was indeed. It's exactly what I'm talking about. The guy was he was cracked in that moment, and just here you get a little glimpse of it. Won't be the ace. It's already been denied. Meteor and Lakia, last two, and you can see that they're not looking to run on in and give some free orbs away and free kills instead. Just waiting around to die to the spike and maybe get a kill if someone's caught off guard.
They're trying to set up Rians. That was what the flash is for. He's one off getting the thrash. So actually not giving an orb away here is going to be pretty impactful. Even if it's killing him, that's not actually going to help too much. And while killing Rians at the moment when he has a ghost in hand seems a little bit troublesome. Thrash now available for Heretics. And bear in mind they bought 3 rifles, couple of pistols. They're now going to invest back in and have a really strong buy going into round number 3.
Correction. Third time's the charm on both of those sprays. Got it with the last shot in the chamber. 2-0 for Team Heretics, and like you said, Tom, Thrash is online for Rians. An impressive pistol round. He's a Gecko, so he's planting. And with that, they're set up nicely.
It's whether or not they're going to almost immediately execute here. You can see 3 players ready over on that A side of the map. Lots of utility to be combined. Still got the trip setups, and they've got themselves the nade, which will go in immediately, doing a fair amount of damage, but also denying that thrash. Further push from Meteor, in fact. He's going to step up with 2. A great start to this round, but there was a response.
Yeah, 2 players down for Heretics. Although they got Meteor, they still have so much ground to cover. Just take a look at how many players are waiting on this A site. The rotate through the TP won't be for free. Karen goes looking, and he certainly finds, with Boo down, the spike, a couple of flashes that are usually online, but Woot's already burned his, and Rians, assume didn't get the dizzy back. They're going to go straight through. Lakia almost caught off guard. That door opens just a second too late. Now, in goes the Thrash. Second time. See what ground it can find. Nothing broken. Just in time, and Lakia, well, with that, seems to have secured the round. A firing squad arrives just in time to lock this one down.
Yeah, it does feel almost funny, like watching a map with Lakia, Sky, Bind. Like, it just gives you flashbacks to the only map he was allowed to play when back in the day. But there's a reason that they brought him in for that map. There's a reason that he was always so good at it. And it was just that, again, he has a safe pair of hands in moments where players might overextend, go for the glory, try and find yourself a moment. He's not going to do that. He wants to make sure that while there's a gamble stack, while there's players on one site, the other site isn't just going to be given up for free. And especially with the changes that happen to Sky, you need to be so much smarter with the way you use your flashes for information. Already? Jiggle peaks. Again, like in the past, you might have used your flashes early in the round, but that information found in other ways. A judge in play. And of course, the last being a bonus round, there's still plenty of finances to invest back into for Heretics.
Yeah, of course. They're still able to get that buy up. Rifles to the full part. I like the fact that they're spread at the start of this round. Starting to expect that Geng are going to get aggressive across the map once they feign out that control. Although, one of the main things we'll say about Geng is just how patient they are. Even in the last round, Karen, I think that's just as aggressive an early stance as you'll see in most rounds, just going in to re-clear an angle. Meteor is stuck up close, and the cam almost serves as a bait in the early round. If someone goes to break it, he's swinging in to take them down, but that's not the case. Heretics eventually will have to take a gamble. 40 seconds left, and it's time to make a call on where we're going. I think the TP to a B split.
They're trying to find the trip. That's the bigger issue. They want to go through, but they can't find it. They can't break it. So it's still there. And it's just being waited for contact. Finally, there is that split you were talking about, but they're heading straight into the judge. Karen up close, waiting. First is easy. And now they have to go. There's only 17 seconds left, and they're all just falling to this judge. He's going to take them all. That's the spike down as well. If they're going to go for this, they need to sprint to try and retrieve it. And with the Molotov down, there just is not enough time. The judge, and it pains me to say it, is going to win the round for the side of Geng, and even escaping from Karen seems difficult.
Yeah, the only thing that does escape Karen is the ace, as per usual for the side of Geng. They won't be finding 5, but I think they'll be happy enough with that performance. The weakest weapon bought up, and the one that finds all the results. This is, I mean, this is a danger of going blind into a site so late. They pumped the brakes for the entirety of the round, Tom, waiting for aggression, waiting for a mistake to be made, and in the end, that was their mistake, because Geng are a patient squad and one that's happy to sit back and let you play yourself.
It's like, did you have a composition that has 3 different players with flashes and you're walking dry into hookah? Like, it just seems like an unnecessary risk. Already, though? Okay. Woot wanted to try and take a leaf out of Talon's book and just run it straight down for those early fights. And well, hey, it's come out in their favor. Orbital Strike thought about. Benji's also taken a lot of control. Now, this is a much weaker purchase in this round for Heretics. They lost one of the guns early on, but they've come out in a good spot.
Oh, Benji's on the wrap. He's right behind him. Karen,
also, look at Boo.
Barely evading that sightline, waiting for a player to come up through mid, and instead it's Benji wrapping on him that gets the kill. Boo, exact same as last map. I said he was just harassing them by constantly waiting on angles they weren't expecting and stopping them from being able to get aggressive. Well, he does the same here, able to support from across the map using his stars, and then able to even grab a kill and light Munchkin down to 60. This one looks to be sealed in for Team Heretics, and the question that remains is whether or not Munchkin can carry this weapon forward. Got a little bit of cash in the bank, but this weapon may help them out.
Yeah, I think that is the difference with that Brimstone. Is okay, you have a decent range, but just the global utility, it means Boo can play anywhere on the map. And you saw the attempted rotation. Like, this was a weaker buy where a lot of players initially rush showers, and you even had a player sneaking his way through mid. The expectation is, okay, if there is a lurk, they're probably a little bit further back, wanting to play that utility. Instead, he had pushed quite far into the position of B short, and when they went through long and cleared everything out, he just had one little rat spot that was enough to catch them off guard. A big round for the side of Heretics, winning with low economy, and it's not going to obliterate everything for Geng. In fact, They're actually going to go back in with an operator here. I think Texture wants to challenge if they try that again.
Well, it makes sense, yeah. At this point,
he almost didn't get the timing.
At this point for the defensive side, I think that we talk about their aggression and how limited it often is. You're going to have a couple of rounds where they're going to swing out like crazy, but patience definitely the name of the game more often than not for Gen G. Now they can have that middle ground. You're not quite entering, you're not quite pushing up as that duelist. Instead, you're sitting back. There's no up that ends up when the barriers go up. It's all the rifles to work with.
Look at the immediate denial. They even shot the fake out this time because they were so worried about what happened in the previous round. Still, that control is going to be taken, and more importantly, the dimensional drift is going to be online. This is the one major factor with this Yoru that plays such a huge part. It's just the space and angles that you're able to clear. And the question will be, is how did Gen G react to this now?
Well, they need to break the camp. They're hearing it activated here and there inside of A, and well, now it's only the man operating the camera that's left alive. Miniboo pushing up is ignoring it completely. He sat on the corner waiting for the re-aggression. A smart play, misses the shot to start, but he gets there in the end. And now, well, they know they've got all the space to work with. The plan's underway. The control is most definitely locked in for Heretics. Gen G may just want to save these weapons at this point.
Yeah, I like the fact as well that even in the late round, they're using that thrash just to make sure that this round is converted. Because we've seen it many a time where they walk into the traps that have been placed down by Meteor and end up falling victim. But again, the thing is, Gen G's response when they see that dimensional drift online is not a bad one. They go, okay, you've got that ultimate, you have thrash. If we sit back and allow you to use an ult that can clear all of us, and then another one that can stick us in spot, we are screwed for the round. So they go, okay, we have to get aggressive, we have to take some control, and Heretics are just waiting. They had the sort of counter thought, the counter process. Now, they're going to try and take some of these weapons away, but I think the likelihood seems fairly slim, unless they're going to go full sprinting into Hookah. And, well, actually, never mind. Lackey is actually caught right at the end of the round.
A big blow, and an early lead now for Team Heretics. We went 2-2, back and forth. This is their chance to extend it even further with Gen G losing that weapon. They'll have very little to work with in terms of rifles, and it all comes down to that big crunch on short. Just a massive fight, a firefight that goes the other way. Meteor had an opportunity here, but he's not landing it. And for that, I think looking at the individuals, Heretics have come in activated. Rien's most certainly has. Yeah. And we need to see the same thing from Gen G, albeit not in this round. Again, 2 rifles.
You're saying?
Sure.
You're saying?
Okay, well, I'll take that one right back. There's some weapons to be retrieved. There's a showstopper in play. And Woot's gone before the rocket lands.
Oh, Lackey needs to get out. As said, a lot of the time he's a safe pair of hands. That was a way back into the round if he falls, but instead, that early aggression from Texture, you always know that at any stage this man can be a danger. And the hero rifle he had has done just that. Even the support of Karam from behind. And now they just fall back. Even using the Seekers, it's not the worst ult to expend in a moment like this, just to make sure that you haven't lost too much ground in a certain position, or maybe even wary that they're about to make the hit onto long. Instead, though, Hookah is the play. And with a defensive smoke in position, I don't know if they're going to try and risk it and jump out. It seems like they are going to try and potentially make a move around it, but you can see Lackey is honed in, ready and waiting.
He has trouble though, never mind. Munchkin comes out along at just the right moment. The other players were out retrieving weapons and they've done just that. Everybody now stocked up with free upgrades. What a round from Gen G.
Yeah, the start of it is already just absurd. Dodging the flash and then just, again, this is why you put this man in the bracket of best duelist in the world. He really does just take rounds into his own hands. And after what has been a quieter start, like they have 1 kill before that point, but at any moment, that can be where Texture takes over. And then again, just falling back into those passive positions off the advantages that have been had. Instead, early information fought for. An immediate use of the ultimate, but Karen's going to ignore it. Just try and deny anybody else from pressuring.
They know exactly where he wants to go. Secondary location chosen. Miniboo out of the ult and catching Karen on the fallback. Flash around the left side. Meteor's done well to keep this one competitive. His 3rd already under his belt and still challenged the 4th and denied the 5th. It's Woot keeping it alive for Team Heretics. Has to go and retrieve that spike. And then the world is his oyster. Only Munchkin between him and a round victory.
Yeah, the thing is he has a lot of time to play with. A minute on the clock. He's going to use the TP to immediately rotate, but he's definitely worried about the potential of his opponent already being there. Munchkin stood in a spot where it didn't matter where the plant went in. He would have the knowledge. Oh, Woot's actually just going to look to fight him. Get right up in his face. Go for that final shot! And it is perfect. Lands the final bullet around the Meteor. Well, he gave everything for, but everything wasn't enough.
Not this time. 4 kills. And well, like we said, Team Heretics came in, warmed up, ready to go. Certainly seems like we had a bit of an activation from Meteor with this. Good positioning around the back. I didn't even see he got the info so quickly on the second player up close. It wasn't quite enough. A big round for Heretics as they defend their lead 5-3. And we're going to see a Viper's Pit online for Benji Fishy. Karen, he's toyed with the idea of putting that orbital strike down a number of times, but never quite pulled the trigger.
Oh, the pacing looks a fair bit quicker this time. Hookah control taken immediately. It's a position they have problems with. Lackey is going to remove Boo. Some of that late round utility already gone. Also, a player that has been their lurker. It might even bait the defensive players on the other side of the map. And in fact, they're actually going to try and use the pit to get out. The counter spam. It's perfect. In fact, Rians has found 2 through the wall. It's got to be frustrating if you're on the other side. Still Meteor's here. He managed 4 in the last round. This time that would be enough, but he's going to be decayed all the way down, and that will be enough for Benji to clear him.
Could have been either player that he took down. If it was the Viper, perhaps they'd be in with a chance. Instead, well, maybe again, Karen's going to toy with the idea of the orbital strike straight through the smoke and the wall. Benji couldn't find a safe space to hide, and now they really need to be careful. Orbital strike in play. Both players trapped. Gate crash available. Used, but Karen, after the time, grabs the kill onto Woot. But it was traded out just a little bit too early.
It's just Woot. They both just go for the fight. For Woot, it's understandable. He is screwed. Like, he used to have to run forward, running back, he's dead. For his teammate, they both go for the fight, and it's just that he lands that bullet quicker than the orbital strike can kill him. That's insane. This whole round was insane. 2 through the wall, then this kill through the wall, which removes the pit, and then literally, that shot is the difference. If he goes down even a split second sooner.
I thought we lost.
I thought we lost.
Can't even believe it themselves. 6-3. A guaranteed equal half for Heretics, and you can understand now why that pause has been taken. There's been some deadly close rounds for Geng, but Heretics, they've been building. They lost that first map, their own choice. Many, including myself, thought this could be over. They win the second map in incredibly close fashion with a great comeback from an 8-4 deficit. Now, well, it seems like all the pieces are aligning at the right time, and you can understand why on the other side of things, coaching staff, some elite level coaching staff, are going to look to try and slow things down.
Well, this is the problem, Tom. You know, again, we've said this a number of times, but the hardest losses are the ones that are that close. And I think what's more devastating about it is you can look at Heretics. They had the same situation in map 1. But for Geng, it's not just a map. That was the series within their grasp. Just rounds away from taking it, guaranteeing playoffs, not having to go to the lower, getting to go to lunch early. But instead, it's Team Heretics now, double the scoreline of what Geng have brought to the table, and that has to have some emotional weight. The coaching staff have had their time to discuss, and we're going to see a stalemate in the early round as, again, Team Heretics pump the brakes and wait for Geng to make a move. That's just not happening.
I think the scary thing as well is who's already in that lower bracket. Sentinels, a Masters winner with the opportunity to watch this game, watch every single round, try and pick it apart. And FPX, who, well, they've already shown Heretics that they can go toe-to-toe and even come out with some wacky compositions that can throw you off completely. They beat them on this map. Here we go, though. Thrash Already used the TP even while blind, double blinded. Doesn't even matter. That's Miniboo gone, and they might have to pump the brakes. No, they're continuing this push right into the hands of Munchkin. He's going to try and retreat, and Lackey has gone down elsewhere. In fact, everybody's falling.
It's a wave of red for the attacking side as Benji Fishy grabs the shot to the back of Munchkin's head, and Boo, he's so annoying to play against. They're not even clearing it. No! Boo! The disrespect is surreal! 7 on the board for Heretics, and well, if the last couple rounds didn't tilt you, I think that one might get you.
Is that the first knife with the champion's blade? I can't. If there is another one, it's escaping me, but
there was just no need, Boo.
There you go. He's going to enjoy that one, and of course, it's got to be frustrating. Either way, 7-3. Heretics proving once again why they're always a team to fear. Gen G, favored by us, favored by the desk, favored by anybody who has seen them play over the last few months. You'd have to be a little bit mad not to see the level of this team, but right now, while we haven't seen a lot of them over the last few rounds, Ultimate's still there, but if anything, the Viper's Pit can easily be countered by that Dimensional Drift. In fact, it's going to be used early, looking to just try and clear things out.
Well, he's got some space, but he's forced straight into a fight, surrounded and dropped by Karen. Meteor up close, finally manages that opening with Woot down, but Karen and Lakia fall right after. Now the pressure on for Texture, his teammate on the other side of the map, and he will quickly be dealt with. Team Heretics, it was a little bit shaky to start, but they pulled those kills right back, and now Munchkin has to do this 1v2 all alone.
Yeah, the pit not going to be useful here. Unless he wants to try and walk back into the site, but likely won't give him anything. And Benji's already rapping. He's just going for it. He's just going to take the fight alone. You can see the confidence from this Heretic side is off the charts at the moment.
Round in the half.
And the big round from Benji. I think he was the one that traded back those 2 kills that ultimately looked like it was going to be a problem. Yeah, quick reactions.
1 enemy remaining.
And now 8-3 in the lead. 6 of the last 7 have gone their way, and well, we are seeing uncharacteristic performances. Texture, I think a couple of his kills came in a singular round. Lakia has gone and missed. They've been able to isolate him. As I said, normally a very safe pair of hands when it comes to that B site. They have pressured him.
Whoops. You know,
who needs it anyway?
Yeah, just move it. One of the more surprising things here, Tom, is up against FPX. Obviously, Heretics struggled. They got 4 rounds on their attack. They couldn't string a single round together. And here, up against Gen G, of all teams, they've made that recovery. The work they've done is
more
clear.
Impressive, the adaptations. Like, they changed their composition, and I think it was for the exact reason you're talking about. Bring in a multitude of flashes, a multitude of information, force players into awkward battles. The Dimensional Drift of Miniboo, it can basically floor all of the issues that they were having. And the times they did run into awkward things, you could see they didn't do it again. Now, pressure on again, Munchkin. He's going to put that snake bite down to try and slow them, but it hasn't slowed them much.
Viper's Pit. Oh, Munchkin corrects in time, but he still falls, as does the Pit, leaving Meteor with sight on Benji. A clean kill, and the advantage now towards the defensive side. Spike recovered, and Team Heretics have to think about taking this somewhere else. And Meteor still floating around, grabbing all these kills. One safe haven for them to plant, or so they thought. The Molly forces him out of the round, that is. It's only Rien's 1 against 4. He has to do it all by himself. The whole squad bearing down upon him. They'll at least have a light at the end of the tunnel on Gen G. Finding a round at the end of the half. 8-4, though. A strong lead for Heretics moving into the next.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was same in the last map, but Heretics have already proven that with either of these teams, there's always going to be potential for the comeback. So giving that little lease of life. We'll see if Gen G can do the same after the break.
1 enemy remaining.
Welcome back to half number 2, map number 3. We're going the distance. Heretics have managed to take quite a lead. They've got a distance between them of 4 rounds, Tom. And Geng, after being so close to 2-0ing this series, after facing against that comeback, now here on Bind, this new comp for Heretics, it's working wonders.
Yeah, it's a comp that I think, again, it's going to help them out quite a lot when it comes to that attacking side, clearing angles, the same thing they were having problems with when they played versus FPX. I think, again, this team is always learning, always adapting. But now it comes down to that second half. Can Miniboo have the same impact? Are we going to see the operator more from him? Can we still see some of those clutch rounds? Because we saw some impressive turnarounds of rounds that looked rough. And more importantly, just like the last map, are we now going to see that step back up from Geng? Because we know that this team at any moment can get back into a game. A pistol victory, you see some magic from the likes of Texture, and now he's going to be the pinnacle point. He's going to be the man being set up to get those entries. And if you're not careful, you'll get destroyed.
Yeah, if you're not careful, he'll be finding them. Team Heretics, well, they clearly have done some reading into this and assume it's a B hit, but it is most certainly not. Geng walking straight into the A site, and only one man, the snake in the grass, the man who got a knife kill, but won't quite be able to stab them in the back this time. Texture falls as a result of the damage done, though. And we're back to equal territory.
Hey, don't see Tiger kills too often nowadays, but even still, that's a big one. Puts things even. There's going to be a flank fight as well. That battle could be what ends up deciding it, although considering the plant, it's going to be difficult for them to get back in. Lakia already eliminating Benji, another one for Munchkin as well, and this is looking clean. Left on to Miniboo, and he's not even going to get one. A good round from Geng to kick off this second half. But let's be real, Mitch, it was needed.
It really was. Otherwise, home stretch was within sight of Team Heretics. Instead, we're going to be getting back to close territory. At least you'd imagine that. With Geng forcing their opponents down to an eco in the next. The Tiger kill, yeah, really is a rarity around these parts, especially in a pistol round. That's worked out this time. And Munchkin, well, he got 2 kills there, only 1 counted. The wingman extermination. 3-round gap between the two. And like you said, Tom, Geng are no slouches. This isn't a team that's going to sit back and look at the scoreline and think, it's over and done with. They've been here before. They've made it work. But a high-stakes game with playoffs on the line, that's going to have them locked in. And right now, locked into the B site. Traps and camera left behind to cover A aggro, as they will take space slowly but surely towards B. Only danger is if they do go to hookah. There's a big trap play with a Yoru already inside the teleporter, has a gate crash to fall back if he needs, and 2 players stacked up close, ready for the duel.
I think looking at this, overall, there's not a lot of expectation, but somehow these pistols once again are doing damage. Meteor, Karen, at least making this one back to an even scenario. None of the weaponry's been retrieved. Miniboo doesn't quite manage to get anything done. Looks like they've rectified what was a dangerous start. Boo's still standing. And he's going to find the timing. The pistol shot's just not connecting, and that might be the chance gone. It's going to come down to Woot making a play, and with the knowledge of where Boo remains, feel like the chances are slim. 5 bullets. Doesn't even have enough to kill off every single player. Though there is another gun down on the deck. I think the expectations have to be minimal. And for the Heretics, you have to look at every missed chance. Every opportunity that slips away from them. They're looking at a potential repeat matchup versus FPX, which if you've ever seen a Heretics FPX game, it comes down to the absolute wire. It will be the closest games you're ever going to see. And the other team, if Sentinels are to make it through, well, they're the ones that beat them, or one of the teams that beat them in the first Masters. So I don't think Heretics are going to want to face either of ththose teams particularly. For Geng, well, a rematch versus Sentinels probably isn't going to be the most fun thing in the world, but they have proven that at least the first time out, they were very clean.
But you know what I always say, Tom?
Go on.
I'm nervous now. I'm nervous now. It's always harder to beat a team the second time round. And, well, for Geng, maybe they're finding that out here.
Oh, you didn't say that last time.
No, it was a little different last time. I've modified it now. Slightly. But yeah, for Geng, this position, 8-6, last round, big one from Meteor. The fact that he goes late through hookah where the trap play was, but those players had already been pulled to sight by the hyper aggression down B long. He catches a kill on sight. They get the information that Miniboo had come up behind, that he had come out of the teleporter and was now in hookah. And so he adjusts and grabs that kill too. Got rid of 2 big dangers from the round. This time there's a bunch of dangers with everybody on Heretics having rifles and a very passive play from that defensive side. Gate Crash, I presume, is going to be used here for the rotation. There it is, already put out to the B site. And A will be stacked up with 3, just as Gen G look to push it.
But this is the thing, when you have that Gecko Sky combo, you can use your flashes for info. This is what we talked about though. Texture being set up, Boo dodges the flash, gets the opener for himself, removing the danger man, or at least one of them. And actually, Lackey has now gone down as well. This is starting to look pretty problematic. This bonus round had a lot invested into it. Maybe even leaving Munchkin with less desirable economy for the next round if they don't manage to find a little bit more here. Wanting to at least get a bit of damage done. He's fighting tooth and nail. One of his last bullets before the reload. Karen has actually found another. This comes back into a competitive position as he'll keep it in a 2 versus 2.
Such smart play. He knew he was being baited by the player further back and just kept falling back, retreating and taking the fight. Guerrilla warfare, and it's worked out. Gen G with another on Meteor, and now Rienz has to do it all. This round was looking so heavily favored, and instead, they are massively on the back foot with the defuse underway though. Here comes the swing, a necessary one, stopping the defuse. But still plenty of time left to bring it across the line. Massive clutch, Red Bull clutch in fact, for Rienz.
He has been lights out in this game so far, but that seemed like an impossibility. Like, helped out massively by the wingman. There was 0% chance I think he wins that otherwise, because they are split across from each other. It should be the perfect crossfire, but I think it's almost the fact that Meteor ends up swinging first, both having deeper angles, and because of that, there's no immediate response for the trade. The main thing, though, is Rien's read. The fact that he works out where both of those players are, that's what wins the round. And while Heretics, I thought they were about to lose a 3v5, if not for a hero.
Yeah, I think he might have seen Karen, and he knew Meteor got the kill, heard him running away, so at that point, pop up the flash, no one gets hit. All right, time to put the wingman down. Perfect thinking process, and the perfect agent in that position. Anyone else, and I agree with you, that one is done. Texture, out looking for an opening duel, just pixels away from swinging straight into the angle with Miniboo, and that is a definitive fight if we end up seeing it. Miniboo now getting aggressive. Hooked up in the corner, Woot goes to spot out. They thought that, hey, it was a little bit more clear, but little did they know, danger was lurking around every corner. The gate crash used to get out of there, so no punish onto Miniboo. But Gen G still have their sights set on that side of the map.
And they're going to have to reclear everything, though. Tiger being used just to remove any doubt. Benji's aggression is punished, but there, again, is an immediate trade. Thrash is available if Rienz wants to use it, but finding a safe spot is going to be more important, and it might even be worth just holding onto it for the retake.
Exactly where you are.
Information will be found, and with the orbital strike, they could look to try and lock off some of these spots. Instead, he's going to be caught in it, but he goes swinging instead. Texture deals with him, and the second as well. No trade to be had. The nade will deny any repeat, and an afterplant guaranteed.
Does a lot of damage too. Woot's down to 70 at this point. What a phenomenal read by Texture. He knows exactly where that second player is going to swing in from and corrects to it before he even gets to the angle. Absolutely unbelievable gameplay. And for Heretics, now they're okay, being punished for absolutely everything. I think Woot missed one bullet. Straight to the head he goes. What an adjustment from Meteor. And double digits denied for now. 9-7 for Gen G, with Miniboo saving this weapon on the other side of the map. I was going to say attempting to, but it looks like he's got away scot-free.
That's the bigger problem, though. It's just that economically, the last round has basically made this as hard of a reset as you're ever going to get. Yep. You survive with one player standing in a clutch, everybody else goes down, and now you've lost with 4 players on the other side. This is going to be a huge boost for Gen G, because realistically, the investment from Heretics should be fairly minimal. If you're going to gamble this, I think that that's a risk way too far. And even going for like sheriffs and stuff is going to put the economy on a much lower position.
Early adjustment is just so clean. Takes the first immediately. Yeah, you're going to swing from there, aren't you? And lands the shot seconds later. 9-7. Low buy for Team Heretics. A pistol to start out this half may have sent Heretics straight to playoffs. It would have been a very much an uphill battle for Gen G, and instead, they're close to being on equal footing with this squad. Texture's nade, it's going to cause some problems. Woot will be tagged a little bit, I believe, in that corner. Lackey has been dropped in the meantime, though. That's the one rifle that Team Heretics have. Now spotted, shown to be towards this position. They deal with him, but they might not even need to. They can just go for the plant.
Counter utility almost baiting them into a fight. They're going to go swinging. Woot's found that kill as well. Another 3v5 attempt. As they've lost the early blood. Flash out, another one. In fact, they're looking to try and fight this. Benji's now found another. This is all falling apart for Gen G. In fact, they're not getting anything. It's left all onto Munchkin. It'll be the MasterCard Thrifty. I don't know how they've taken that round. As I said, they barely had anything.
No, they didn't. And Miniboo finds Dream, but it's the fact that you have Woot finding the kill up close, landing that sheriff shot, a rifle right in front of him, behind a box. It's a free upgrade, and now everyone can go swinging, because you've got 2 rifles to work around. It's this one. That shot, free rifle, free ability to swing this one as a team, and Miniboo hits his shots every single time.
I like as well, again, what this composition allows is for so many flashes for information, flashes to slow them down, and then you can double pop flash almost everything because you have so much to play with. You can even then combine that with stuns or grav wells. There's just so much utility that disrupts everything that's Gen G's doing. Now their own economy is on the brink. Woot is about to get aggressive, looking for a fight. He's going to find one. The trade will be there, though, but there's a second player for Heretics as well.
And that Spike sat alone now outside of A. Meteor finds a bit of ground, but only the one to be landed before Rienz is able to trade back. He's been locking down control of B long. There's next to nothing that anybody can do to seize back a position there. And, oh, just a split second away from seeing that player. Texture knows there's someone close by. And a TP from Miniboo! Cerebral play! He snuck the gate crash past him. And the balls to go for that. Unbelievable.
Dude, in a 3v2, that's mental. Like, you could have easily just thrown the round away, but again, it seems like when this Heretics roster gets more and more confident, they go for these scarier plays. It almost feels like they got beaten by Lunacy and then decided, you know what, I want a piece of that. I want to throw that back in Gen G's face. Meteor. Well, I think he knows that's not real. It's not selling anything, and while at this stage of the round, 15 seconds, he's just looking to save. That's all the goal is. Just try and keep the gun through, but there's 1,000,001 angles that he has to check just for his own safety. And on the side of Heretics, they are more than happy just to convert this round and keep their economy nice and strong. They're going to hit themselves towards 11, and I wonder if Gen G need to try and take a pause, maybe recalibrate.
This, well, it's going to be one of the last opportunities, Tom, so a good time for it. 11 on the board for Heretics. Early aggression working out. They try to trade it back. Meteor does a good job at least finding the one, but this man here is just unhinged. And keep in mind, I don't think he had any iota where that player was. He's just mad. But sometimes you thrive in the madness, and Heretics most certainly are. One of the other things, Tom, is when these rounds end, I'm looking down at the stage, I'm looking at the player cams we're getting, and there's a lot of heads in hands for the side of Gen G. They are starting to feel these losses round by round, the chances to go straight to playoffs, to take that higher seed, just slipping through their fingers. It was 13-11 on a map that they previously demolished Heretics on, and now 11-7. If they lose this one, it may well, depends how much they invest, to be honest. Is even that question to ask. But losing this one, 5 in a row needed, it's almost over before it begins.
But that's the thing. We talked about this group, talked about it being a tough route, and in the first match, Gen G made things look incredibly easy. We were almost sat there going, okay, this is just a different beast. No one in this group is going to be able to handle them, and it's who's going to be fighting for second. That was a 13-8, 13-7 when they faced versus Sentinels, and just unmatched performance out of Texture and Karam. Right now, Texture's having a rough one. He's gone missing for the majority of this game, at least this map in particular. But he's got his showstopper. And as said, when on the attack, sure, he has to go diving in. We've already seen it a few rounds ago, the double entry he was able to get. It seems like they're going to go for that again, and look at where the majority of the defense are. It almost seems like they're playing a retake.
Well, I'm not sure they'll have much of a choice. Traps cover in the back. No need to look backwards. Instead, they focus right in front. Texture already in, but he's been let past by Boo. Only finds the one as a result. Luckily, they were still clearing those angles. The deep showstopper not landing. The Viper's Pit is covering off all of this control. There will be a small gap where the spike is planted.
The Seeker's online. A kill for Benji. Would also get a counter pit. It seems like they're going to try and force them into awkward battles. Texture has done so much. Wu is tagged for just 3 HP. The players out of Hookah are desperately trying to just fish out where that Viper is going to be hiding from. And the flashes have done well. Benji gets one. Texture now dropped as well. This is starting to fall apart a little bit, but they still haven't dealt with the pit. Still looking for where that last man standing. Karen holding his ground as he'll come out with a third. But that spike is already being diffused. They have to get towards it. And guess what? Another 4K will be there for Gen G. An 8th round on the board.
They really love their 4Ks, don't they? What a round from Karen. And I'm so happy to see him have this kind of performance because we hailed him for the impact of some of his rounds. Even over on Abyss, I felt like he got so many 2Ks that didn't light up the sky or anything, but they were essential. And you can see if he got one less, round's not going his way. This time, though, here on Vine, he's really hit his stride. Now sitting 23-11, the kill leader by a long shot.
Yeah, I think most people look at this as, well, unless someone, I guess like Wu, has an MVP level performance and takes the trophy, that the Rookie of the Year is already decided, and it's hard to argue with. Karen has been fantastic throughout the entirety of the year, a trophy under his belt, and Gen G, one of the favorites, well, the favorite, to lift that Champions Trophy alongside it. Make this the most successful year of any team in VCT history, and one that's almost impossible to beat if they were to do it. And as being proved here, there is plenty of resistance. Heretics still have a purchase. Ultimates definitely leaning the way of Gen G here. Karen, with that multi-frag, has got himself one away from an orbital strike. It's whether or not he'll find a kill and get to use it.
Obscuring vision.
Well, again, that stack up on the A site has gone amiss. Team Heretics gambling the wrong way. Gen G will have a relatively easy time if they can deal with Boo. The only man standing in their way, stopping that plant on this side. He's seen 4 players already. He's naded up. There's no way out. He has to fight forward, and Meteor meets him halfway. Comes crashing into the site and finds a plant at the last second for Gen G. 11-8, looking to put 9 on the board with the man advantage under their belt.
Yeah, they put him in an impossible position. That execution really couldn't have done anything more. And actually, it seems like Heretics are just going to sacrifice this one. Don't really want to try and fight back into a full stack up on the retake. And so they're just going to opt to hold on to their weapons. It's a bold call, I'd say that. Like, to just basically give another round over, send the economy sky high for Gen G, but you kind of understand it. Like, that execution, I honestly couldn't have been any better. Have the pot flash initially, nade to the back of sight, you had a Molotov that he'd have to run into, and then just forcing him into a fight versus the team. There was nothing Boo could do, and once that ground is completely given up, and they gambled on an A-site stack, you almost have to save, even if in a 4v5 it's tough to do.
Yeah, look, I think there's no doubt that they made the right call there. But now the call for the timeout comes in. Heretics haven't used one so far, but 11-9 up. The gap has closed massively, and the gamble stacks on the A side didn't work out. You can't help but think that maybe what they're missing here is having someone like Miniboo, even if they want to play light on B, having that Yoru start there, get a little aggressive for the information, because if anybody swings out, you're going to notice that there's 4 players, sometimes 5 players on B long, creeping their way up. And it's just that gap in information that's usually covered by something like a Cypher camera. But obviously in this case, that's not quite an option.
I think for me, it would maybe make a little bit more sense to have one of the initiators there. Yep. Because right now, what it's coming down to is, okay, there's 35, 40 seconds. We've not seen anything from Gen G, so I'm going to put up a smoke. And it's like, okay, well, they can play through that. They can go above or through that utility. Whereas if you're throwing out that Dizzy every once in a while, it's going to give you the information eventually. And I think that's what they're lacking for a composition that, as you said, has a Yoru that can go aggressive and find info, has 2 initiators that have flashes that give you info. To have 2 rounds in a row where a team is able to hit into a site that you are unaware of until they are in your face, that shouldn't be happening. And I think that's why we've seen a pause for the side of Heretics to go, okay, that gamble hasn't paid off. It wasn't worth the risk. We're playing without information and gambling on them giving us something.
And it's even on the A side, the way they're approaching it. It is a trap play. It's why I sort of say about the Yoru, because the initiators are meant to be on the A side, popping their flashes out, flooding them with blinds, and then the swing comes through. But that means you're not having those super deep flashes clearing out space. Now, well, off rip, there's one player outside of A. They know that for sure. The gamble stack on B is not going to work out because short has been taken for free. Geng have got backside A control, they've got site control, they've got everything. And Meteor, I saw expect him to get a kill or 2 there, and he got both. Of course he did, even blinded
It's
up.
a save. It's already a save. I can't imagine that the players on the other side are going to be going for this. It's going to be so difficult to find a way back in. I guess they've got some extra credits to play with. That's why they're going to try and run into what is Texture. And while he wanted to try and get all 3, instead he gets the 1, but does a lot of damage. The remaining players have no choice but to try and leave this position. But again, it's meteoric heroics that end up closing out this round. There was... again, you look at what was being done by Heretics, I don't mind it. They needed to clear that backline, they needed to find that guy. The flash was perfect, just like the shots from Boo. And of course, with the saves that we've seen from the side of Heretics, there's so much economy for the attack. They want to try and get rid of the guns as well. Munchin has done well. Is Boo really going to survive on 2 HP? It looks like he will.
What a round. What a round from Meteor. I was going to say, I somehow expect him to get a kill or 2. Fully blinded, double spray to the head. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I think they both checked left as well.
Yeah, they were both clearing the wrong way. You probably even just assume, you know, he's jumped out of the smoke once he got blinded. He's running away. Let's go hunt him down. But nope. Nope. It's Meteor to take the kill. Now competing with Karen for that kill lead. Orbital strike online for the attacking side. 1 round in it. And what a difference 1 round could make. Heretics, they've been struggling to put anything on the board, and here there's a lot of weaknesses.
Oh yeah, it seems like Heretics are trying to break records of how many rounds they're going to play this tournament. If they go on a run, I think they might. Miniboo waiting, but it's only going to be the 1. And they know that, or they should know that Woot is around this angle. The Tiger just being used at the inopportune moment. Blackie is waiting. The flash. He's not going to find anything. And that's the thing. Again, the ultimates seem to just lean slightly in favor of Geng if they can get themselves into the post plant. I like this duo, though. Like having Rians alongside Benji, they've been so good at getting info, finding the delays. Have they just dodged that off their own orb? That's what it looked like, but it doesn't matter. Benji gets the kill anyway.
It's a nice frag. And we've seen the B site under pressure with just 1 man holding it. They were overwhelmed. This time, no. There's a lot of gaps in the side of Geng, and even more so now with Munchkin down. No way through, you'd imagine. The Meteor manages to find himself 1. The site taken over by Benji, stood underneath, 3 kills already to his name, and there's backup on the way.
Okay.
It's Benji's 4th. A game, a series of 4Ks. With 12-10 on the board at long last, Team Heretics have map and series point, playoffs point.
Well, that's the main thing. It's a little bit of a break, but more so, it gives you a good opportunity to dodge some pretty fearsome teams. Think about those #1 seeds, the potential of someone like Leviathan. You're not going to want to face off against. I guess in some of the other groups, maybe the one that like things coming up a little bit later on. I think DRX or Fnatic. It's a pick your poison sort of moment, but there's definitely real opportunities to dodge some heavy hitters, but more so not have to play in that decider match.
Which, for a team that all year we've been talking about burnout being a big factor, for Heretics, it's so important to get that win on the board. Now look at this. We've seen the judge in this position before do damage, and Riens, well, he's not slowing down on those stats. A double kill. Players dropped And indeed, Thrash kept for later on.
Oh, Meteor's taking a risk. Has to get this kill, otherwise it might just be GG. A 2 versus 5 needed to stop Heretics. And it's Riens who's in position. He wants a little bit of revenge. Gets one blind, and Munchkin is not long for this world. 18 HP, that's not the gun he's looking for. But even still, this looks like a bridge too far, an impossibility. And for Heretics, a team that struggled towards the end of EMEA, played versus FPX and were almost defeated, maybe even should have been. They're coming up against the inarguable best team in the world right now.
30 seconds left.
And unless in 30 seconds 4 kills are going to Munchkin, they've taken them down.
It looks to be just a formality at this point. An impressive comeback in the series, in the map, and Benji Fishy to close it. 13-10, 2-1. Everyone expected Gen G to be the ones taking this across the line. But somehow, Los Niños have gotten it done. Playoffs bound.
Yeah, this is a team that we've spoken about all year. The fact that they came in as a squad that, let's be real, expectations were almost zero. They were a bunch of youngsters thrown together, built by Neil Zenio, and they have gone from strength to strength, improving as they go. They finally get their full roster together for this tournament. They get a revenge match versus the likes of Gen G. And just like last time, it was a 2-1, but there's not a couple more maps to play for. For Gen G, they're going into that decider match, and I'm sure the other two teams, they're crapping themselves. Like, they are not in a good spot right now, because that is not a team you want to face off against next. At the same time, I feel like these are the two squads everybody wants to be seeing going the distance in this tournament.
They've done what they couldn't do in Shanghai. They've bested Gen G and proven they've got what it takes to be champions. For now, they have a break, recover from the burnout, and prepare for matches that won't get any easier than this.
No.
A phenomenal display from a group of youngsters, and well, an entertaining one too. It went the distance.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you can see the depth still from the side of Gen G, but I love the risk. The gamble to switch up to a composition that, again, you kind of look at and go, maybe this shouldn't work, maybe they shouldn't be able to catch them off guard. It was said by the desk that the likes of Munchkin's very good at dealing with a lot of the stuff that was run, but I'll be honest, it's just so impressive that, again, when needed, players like Benji, players like Riens, Boo himself, the IGL, just had such high levels of impact that honestly, it really does feel like this team can go the distance. If you're a Gen G fan though, I don't think you're too worried. The likelihood is you're going to come up against FPX or Sentinels who they've already beaten, and it's better to bleed a little bit earlier on and have that comeback later in the tournament.
Yeah, it absolutely is. With some phenomenal moments throughout this series. There was a point where it looked done on map number 2. We thought Gen G would take it across the line, but some of these players dug deep, and Team Heretics ultimately take it across the line. Let's toss this down to Jen on the stage with Benji Fishy for the Verizon post-match interview.